Hey friends, Irene Lyon here, and welcome to this entire world of nervous system health and healing. Today I have a special guest interview for you with a gentleman who is named Rob Stewart. I met Rob through another podcast friend over the interwebs, and I immediately was drawn to his holistic methods of helping people heal their skin from things like eczema, psoriasis, rosacea. We might call this dermatitis, really tricky to heal skin disorders. I say that with air quotes because as we talk about, and as he has shown, as I have uncovered with my own healing of my skin, these are not really diseases or disorders. They are a symptom usually of something much deeper in the body, and we talk about this. This talk is long, as you might see, and it's conversational. This is the first time this video where Rob and I have met. So a lot of it is just history, getting to know his story, where he came from, why he got into this work, what he does now with his students, his clients. He is not a medical doctor, a dermatologist, or someone with fancy degrees of healing the skin. He has studied behavioral science, yoga, and Ayurvedic principles of healing. The reason I really love Rob's approach, it's similar to mine in that each person is different. Each person is diverse in how they show up and why they might have these troubles. So as you may know, I can't tell you to heal anxiety, this is what you have to do. To heal depression, this is what you have to do. The overarching theme might be work on nervous system regulation, but it's more complex than that. So what you'll find in this interview, if you're looking for specific, do this, eat this, detox this, we won't offer that to you because each person is different and individual. But what does happen in this talk is he talks about the general themes that he sees in his clients, in his students, and how he himself healed his significant skin troubles that started at a young age. We go into things that occurred to him when he was 5 years old, where something started to spark his immune system, and we go to current day, what he does. Again, I wanted to have him on because I know many of you ask about healing skin, because you know that was what I healed from, or what I healed significantly. And I can't be an expert and teach everyone everything. Therefore, I wanted to have Rob on just in case you or someone you know is struggling to heal their skin. We talk about the dangers of topical steroids and also the benefit of mindset and having strong routines. Enjoy this talk. I thoroughly enjoyed talking with Rob. We could have talked for another probably 2 hours, but we cut it. We might have another talk at another time. What I want you to do is, if you are feeling pulled to learn from Rob or learn more about him, definitely follow him on social media. He has great Instagram videos and YouTube clips, and look into his work, look into his programs, his coaching practice. He is a perfect example of someone who has healed difficult skin troubles. And the other thing, his site, go over there and look at some of the stories of people in his world who have healed intense skin disorders, skin troubles. It goes to show that we can do so much healing when we have the right tools, the right education, and the right practices. Enjoy this conversation. Rob, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Irene. It's great to meet you, and just a little chatting we've been able to do before recording has been nice to connect so far.
Yes, I think we'll know each other for a while. That's my sense.
Awesome.
That's my sense. I'm going to start this off completely different than how most people do podcasts and interviews where there's an expert. I'm going to ask you off the top, what do you offer people? What do you do for your business, career? And then we'll get into your story. So let people know where they can find you, what you do, and what you offer.
Cool. So what I do is actually hard to explain because I'm thrown into the category of a skin health expert, which I don't consider myself to have anything to do with the medical industry. Mm-hmm. I'm not a certified nutritionist. I'm super proud of that. What I am is I have a degree in behavioral science. I've done master's work in psychology and philosophy. I'm a certified yoga therapist, and my specialty is not the asanas and the breath work. It's the philosophy behind the 8 limbs. So truly what I call myself is just a destroyer of assumptions. And what I do is I help people get very concrete on what their self-limiting behaviors and beliefs are, and create behavior change models so that they can either, work 2 hours a day and make 10 figures, or heal their skin, or become extraordinarily muscular and energetic, or, still have a boner at age 80 and have good sex and be able to dance. So I tend to work mostly with people who have eczema, dermatitis, psoriasis, and rosacea. And I have 2 kind of offerings for that. I have an online course community, which has been really fun, actually, really thriving. The members are all just dope people. Everyone's kind of just in it together, and we're all exploring, we're all learning, and I'm kind of steering the ship, but I have my white belt on the entire time. I stay in that learner mentality, and I experiment, I learn, and we all just share, and it's awesome. I also work with people privately, people that really want to get serious, and have that kind of intensity to be like, okay, like whatever needs to be done, we're going to do. Those people end up coming to me, and we get their skin healthy, and we get their life back on track. And everything's all in my links. holistichealthactivation.com is my old cheesy website, where you can sign up for coaching and consults. And healpsoriasisandeczema.com is the course where you can access the group and all of the videos and all of that stuff.
Super. So you know that I have a bit of a skin journey, and some of my followers know that. And because of that journey, I get questions a lot. And I don't consider myself a skin specialist, and yet I've healed a great deal. If you look at how I was 10 years ago, it's very different. I still have little flares here and there, but nothing the way it was from birth really was my thing. And if I look at my baby pictures, which I haven't shared to the public, I might in the next little while, for some reason, it wasn't until just earlier this year, really earlier this summer, Rob, we were moving. And I was moving all the old photo albums that we used to have, as I don't know what age you are, but we have lots of photo albums.
I'll be 44 next month.
All right, we're in the same gen. So I'm 48 next month. And I had this impulse to look at my day one, pictures. And for whatever reason, I saw finally how inflamed I was, how red my skin was, how inflamed my eyes were. I had patches already of what we would consider eczema at day one, which means I was baking like that in my mama's tummy. And, we'll get into this because a lot of people are like, well, is it toxins? Is it metals? Is it food? Is it genetic? Is it curable? Blah, 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 blah. So we'll get into that. But it's a concept. The skin is so important because it is our barrier. It's our protector. And it expresses what's going on inside that isn't right. And I had a teacher. I want to share this with you, and then I want to, we'll get into talking about all the things. Her name is Kathy Kane. Many of my followers know her. She taught me how to do the work that I do with early trauma, touch work, getting into kidneys, adrenals, gut, brainstem, working with deep survival stress patterns. And she said to me one day, or to the class, and I was struggling with a lot of rashes then, she said, I always get excited when someone comes in with a rash because we can see it on the outside. And I even remember she was like, oh goody, this person's troubles are on the outside so I can track it. I remember just hating her because I was in so much discomfort. But now I understand what she means because you can track the changes. And so with that, when did your skin present to you an issue? Like, what is your history of, your skin is glowing and gorgeous and clearly you're not inflamed. What was it like 20 years ago? Were you a kid that had skin problems like myself? Let's hear your history.
So similar to you, I had issues as a child, but they weren't showing up yet as eczema, dermatitis, psoriasis, or rosacea. I
Yeah.
was the typical ginger boy living in a tropical environment. My parents, I was born in Charlottesville, Virginia. When I was 1 year old, we moved to Okinawa, Japan, and literally we're living on base. My dad was a Marine, and our backyard was a jungle.
Wow.
And you know, I'm from the generation like you where our life was, there's the door, get the hell out, go have fun, come back if you're about to die, and or for dinner. And
Hungry.
so, you know, I was out with my older sisters just having a ball and always brushing up against some type of plant that was giving me a rash. One of the famous childhood stories that I have that my family always loves to tell, we used to take those big blue tarps and put them on the side of hills, get them soaking wet and slide down them, you know, pre-slip and slide era. And I loved anything physical. I still do. I just love to get after it. And one day I was just going down that tarp and sliding and having a great time. And all of a sudden, I can still vividly remember the feeling because it came back later on in life with the eczema and stuff. Like I was being stung by 1,000 bees everywhere. And my sisters looked at me and they were like, oh goodness, red hives all over my body, rushed me home. You know, first thing my parents do is stick me in a shower and turn the water on. And as soon as the water hit me, it was like the intensity went up times 10. So I'm, you know, this little dude covered in rash, bawling my eyes out. They take me to the emergency room. I don't know what they gave me, but they gave me something. Maybe it was Benadryl. Maybe it was some type of steroidal shot.
Cortisone,
Yeah, something. And it knocked down the inflammation. But from then on, I always had some sensitivity towards grass and plants and being, not all the time, but it would just pop up. Then around 8.5 years old, I started having sore throats a lot. And I also noticed that at that age, my sternum, when I would play sports, would get really hot, like really, really hot, and I'd itch it. I'd itch it so much that sometimes it would bleed a little bit.
Wow.
But for me and my family, that was like, yeah, we're gingers. We're all gingers. Like, that's your skin. Like, whoop-de-doo, you're fine.
Yeah.
And 9 years old came around, and I got strep throat 11 times in 1 year, got my tonsils taken out, you know, missed tons of school. And I believe that's the straw that kind of broke the camel's back and really started my process down autoimmune, immune, and skin weirdness. Through middle school, nothing crazy, you know, was pretty lucky. But I did always notice that the sternum thing was there. And then I always noticed I always had a little dandruff. And my scalp would get, you know, I'd play football and put my helmet on and it'd be
Moist.
So itchy.
Yeah.
And just gnarly. And that kind of lasted until late middle school. My chin just was turned red, like straight bright red. My face was this color. My chin was red. And I noticed it and I was self-conscious about it. But, you know, back then, again, my parents were kind of old school. They're like, you're going through hormones. Like, it's no big deal. And it wasn't even the type of thing that I even complained about. I just noticed it. Then through high school, the scalp became a little bit more, now looking back, obvious, probably sebderm or psoriatical eczema, something. Because I started getting the chunks and the funkiness and the flare-ups, and it would be normal, and then it would come back, and that was it for high school, kind of. My senior year hit, and during baseball season, I was in probably the best shape that I'd been in. I'd worked out really hard to get ready for my senior year. I was being heavily recruited by Major League Baseball and by every Division I school. I went to this crazy powerhouse school called Cathedral Catholic down in San Diego, and it was just highly competitive, highly stressful. And with that came protein powders every morning, creatine, all the supplements that I could, you know, figure out to eat. Plus, my school wasn't near my neighborhood, so I was on my own. I was driving to school. I was going to school all day, playing my sports, and then coming home 8 at night, having a late dinner, doing my homework, and going to bed. So my diet turned pretty horrible. It was fast food. It was burritos and tacos and Jack in the Box, and in and out as much as I could get in my system because I was trying to be big and strong to play
Yeah.
sports. And I ruptured my kidney. Sixth game of the season, sliding into home plate. My ribs bent up into me, ruptured my kidney. And that was a whole story in and of itself. After I recovered from that, my face was pure red for a year.
Wow.
Until my freshman year in college, it was just my body would be this color and my face and my face alone, not even my neck, would be a dark maroon, almost like a intense sunburn without being sunburnt.
Yeah.
My scalp itched then. And again, it was just kind of like, I never went to the dermatologist for it. Never, we just kind of was like, yeah, whatever. And then I went to college and things somehow, despite getting way worse with my habits,
Diet.
my diet was horrible. And I was, I've always been an experimenter and a risk taker. So college for me was like, oh, let's drop acid before a Division I baseball game. Hell yeah, that sounds like a good idea. I went there, and so I had the scalp stuff still, and then every once in a while I'd notice some like weird red patch, but it'd kind of be there and it'd flake off and then it would go away. That ended, and then by 23, 24, 25. The psoriasis and eczema started really, really showing up like in obvious ways. By 25, 27, it was the pictures that you see. It was my whole face, armpits, crotch, back, between the toes, in the fingers, behind the ears, in the nose. It was just everywhere. It was fully systemic, and the flare-up cycles were coming faster and being more intense. And that's when I started really going after it with doctors, and, I spent all the money I had seeing doctors, traveling to different specialists. And I can vividly remember this moment because it was life-changing for me. I went into this really well-known dermatologist in San Diego, and his nurse practitioner came in and he looked at me and he said, "Looks like you have AIDS. You should probably get tested," and left. And that's when I knew that the system was completely fucked, that I needed to have nothing to do with it. And if I was going to figure this out, it was going to be on my own completely. And for about the next 10 years, dove headfirst into every possible alternative healing methodology that you can think of, from breatharianism to natural hygiene to fruitarianism. Everything. I tried it all. I did it all. And the one thing that I was smart about was I went to, finally got online because I was really late to even the internet. Didn't have a cell phone until I was 30. Got online and I figured out that you could access Harvard's book collection from online. So I went to their doctrine program, and I basically stole all of the old medical journals from like the 1930s and 40s, like when the medical industry was actually legit. Like they were doing real science. Politics was not involved. And I found that unequivocally everything that they said was like all foundational practices. Like your digestion is related to your skin, and your filtration system is related to your skin, and your thoughts and your brain and your emotions are related to your stress, and your stress is related to cortisol, and your cortisol's. I kind of started to put it together. And then at that point I was studying yoga therapy and kind of working slowly on a master's degree, and at a school that it's not even around anymore, but it was like a very super liberal psychology college called the Human Development College of Encinitas. And it kind of became very obvious what my mission was. And that's what started me down the healing path.
Do you remember, was there, just like you had that turning point when the doctor said you have AIDS, which shame on them.
Yeah, that was
Him.
pretty bad.
What a way to knock someone's soul out of their body. What was one of the first practices or shifts that you did where you felt and saw a noticeable difference when you were on this self-diagnostic journey?
Yeah, that's a good question, because I spun my wheels big time.
Yeah.
For probably from age 25, 26 till almost 29, getting worse and worse while thinking I was really nailing life, because comparatively I was. Looking back, I was just throwing spaghetti against the wall with alternative practices.
Yeah.
It was just experimentation.
Yeah.
It wasn't until the year that I healed, which is, I'm not a person that has calendars or knows my date or anything, but it took me about a year to heal. I was about 11 years ago. So I was 32, 33. And that year, I can remember the start of the year being like, okay, like, and excuse so many drug and psychedelic references. I don't generally talk about this much, but I was on acid on the side of a mountain and completely doing the feeling the oneness and seeing the flower of life and the pixelated universe and feeling connected to all beings. And something hit me that basically was like, you need to just systematize your entire life. You need to put some diet together. You need to put the cleansing and detox together, but you also can't abandon the emotional and the athletic and the nature and that end of it. When I kind of realized that, and then actually started taking the steps in all of those categories, I started feeling different, really different for the first time. I started feeling more calm. I started feeling more confident. I started having more energy. I started sleeping a little bit better. I started enjoying the company of a different type of person. I started to enjoy my solitude a little bit more. My skin wasn't really budging. But the moment that you're asking about happened at almost the exact 6-month mark of my year that I healed. And I actually told this story on Instagram a couple days ago or last week. I woke up in the morning, and instead of doing my natural routine, which was go directly to the mirror, pick at my scabs, get the crap out of my hair, like comb my body, get myself not looking like a leper and presentable, because I was teaching yoga then, so it was like this really harsh thing to like be someone who's supposed to be helping people with their health, and I'm looking the way that I look. So I was trying, that was my routine. Go to the mirror, deflake, lotion up, and steroid cream up. And that didn't happen. I walked to the shower. I took a cold shower. I did my meditations. I had a workout. I taught some yoga. I came home and realized like I haven't even checked.
Obsessed about it. Yeah.
I haven't even checked.
Yeah.
And I realized in that moment that I've gotten to a place where what I'm obsessed about right now is this feeling and the solution and these steps and this different type of life that I'm more interested in now than the life that I was pursuing before that. And I got to a place mentally where if my skin didn't heal, I was fine with it at that point. I had completely let go, which made it was like a burden lifted off of my shoulders. It was, it felt like literally a backpack of bricks just off, boom. I was like liberated. And I was like, okay, if I feel like this and my skin's not great, this is at least a life worth totally living. Like, I don't like the way I look, but I like my life. And it seemed like from that moment, the healing sped up and I started having way more progress with the symptoms. And you fast forward to about the year mark, and I was able to take on the flare-ups when they would come and go. It didn't become this life horrible depression thing. It was like, okay, having a flare-up, I know what I need to do. I got, do my salt baths, I do my cold exposure, I do my sauna, and I bring my practices to a more mellow place. I spend more time in nature. I talk to my mentors, and it worked. It worked. And finally, right about the year mark, I had a real interesting experience with a coffee enema that released, and there's another controversial thing.
Yep.
To me, I just call it what it looked like. It was a giant trash bag looking thing that was mucoid plaque. It was black, it was long, it was stringy. That thing came out of me and it was almost symbolic. Like that was the last demon. Like that was it. That came out. It was really weird.
Yeah.
And then my skin had the weirdest, biggest flare up ever. Month 11 and a half.
I watched that. I think it was a video you shared that about the coffee, like your skin had healed. the coffee enema, that thing came out clearly junk that was just embedded in your intestines, in your colon, probably.
Yep. Yep.
And then continue, please.
And then rapidly, much, much faster than any big flare up had ever gone away. It was gone. It was like the signal from the autonomic nervous system, that inflammatory response, fight or flight, that was just beating itself to death all the time for no reason. Just was like, I've had enough and I think I'm cool. And that was 11 years ago. Like I'm one of the lucky ones because I haven't dealt with like relapse or flare-ups or little things here and there. It's like my skin from that moment has progressively gotten
better and better,
better and better and better and better. And I think that people hear that story and sometimes it actually throws them off because I don't like using the word cured because it's a meaningless word. It's like there's levels to it, and it depends on where you're at and how far you want to go. And to me, I think that every single human being who has this issue can definitely be in a manageable place, can definitely have skin that they're happy to be in. And for some people, they can take it all the way and cure the disease. And it's the gains and the healing are out there for whoever wants to take it. But it takes some work, it takes some consistency. And for me, it more took a lot of shifting of my perspective.
I want to go back to that first story of the slip and slide in Okinawa. Do you have an idea of what triggered that reaction? Have you ever...
I was told by the doctors that I had an allergy to certain bugs that lived in certain grass. And they said I had an extreme allergy to anything in the flea family, which is funny because I live on a farm. I get bit by ticks. I'm around bugs and nothing happens ever anymore. So I don't know exactly the nice cocktail that brought that out of me, but I do know that I was a C-section baby. And I hear that coming up a lot. So that might've been part of it. My mom was smoking cigarettes before she had me. Luckily, my parents have always eaten semi-good and been movers and shakers themselves. So I had a healthy mom, but not perfectly healthy. And she had 2 of her kids C-section. So she had some thing that wasn't perfect with the way that she delivered babies. So that obviously shows there's some level of genetic and autoimmune and mother's stuff being passed on. And I think too, living in Okinawa, Japan, I think our diet got a little off, a little weird compared to living in Charlottesville. And then when we moved to San Diego, it was just different, and it was, if we would have eaten the local way, we probably would have been good to go. But, living on base, it's cafeteria stuff. And
probably lots of canned foods and
and that's
processed.
You actually nailed it. The one giant mistake that my parents made, and this was just because it was the 80s and 90s and everyone was thin and sugar wasn't really a thing. Pepsi, Coke, Dr. Pepper. It was stocked in our fridge, and you had access to it unlimited. So I was a literal soda addict as a 3-year-old, 4-year-old. I was drinking all the time. So I have a feeling that was the main driver as far as diet goes. I mean, it's just pure poison.
It is.
Yeah. So that's my guess. That's my guess as to some of the factors, but I don't know for sure.
It's interesting because it sounds, did your sisters have any trouble with their skin?
So my sisters did not have problems with their skin in that way, but my sisters have had other things. My oldest sister, she is 55, and she wasn't able to have children, So she had some reproductive things, and that's the genetic thing from my mom or whatever. And she has taken it upon herself she's a beast, I tell her okay, Amy, you're running sprints now for your workouts, and she'll run sprints in her backyard into snow before she goes off to sell real estate. She's a boss. So she's super fit, and her skin is is great. My middle sister, Katie, who is like the wild, typical middle sister, she has great skin, never had skin issues, but she has had every single thing, you know, everything pop
else.
up that like reproductive system. She's
Yeah.
54. It's been taken out. All sorts of things. Pancreatic, you know, got her pancreas taken out. It's just, she's had a lot. So it's shown up for her in those ways. And it showed up for me with my skin. And, yeah, so luckily none of them, but my mom has developed at an older age rosacea on her face.
Oh.
Yep. And she's been able to kind of nip it in the butt just with some little changes, luckily.
Right.
Yeah.
The thing that came to my mind, and I'll just share it in case it's useful,